Hi guys, this is gsr.com and I'm here with the unboxing of the Redmi Note 11 from Xiaomi. Now, what we're dealing with here is the global version of the device, which was made available in January 2022. So let's get straight to it. Actually, there have been 4 phones launched, part of the series. They're the Redmi Note 11 Pro 4G and 5G. There's this one and there's the Redmi Note 11S. This one is basically the entry level side of things, even though looking at the back camera you wouldn't say it, because we're dealing with quite a solid quad camera setup. Now the price should be around something like $250 or $300, and we're dealing here with a plastic body with a nice soft touch feeling to it. And let's see what's inside the box. But first and foremost, I'm going to power on the device. And my first impression is that we're dealing with very flat edges, which are familiar because I've played with an iPhone 12 and iPhone 13, and that's the trend right now, flat edges. And also this is our very first contact with MIUI 13. It's also coming around March or April, should reach at least 18 devices, high-profile devices from Xiaomi. Now let's see what's inside the box. We start off with this envelope here, which holds the key used to access the slots. Then we got the usual documents, starting with the quick start guide. Then we have the safety information, which is always important. And of course, the warranty card. Lest we forget, the case, transparent and flexible, in order to protect the device from any smudges or prints applied on the back side. But we're not done, there's more. So we go here and we find a charger, which is quite hefty. It promises 33-watt charging and has an USB-A connector, and also a cable which goes from USB-C to USB-A as expected from a modern wire of the sort. Even though it's popular to see some of the phone makers out there offering an USB-C to USB-C cable. That usually happens for flagships like, I don't know, an Asus ROG phone, a Galaxy S device, or something like that. So this is more of an entry-level phone, but the definition of entry-level has changed quite a bit over the past few years. Right now it's okay to buy an entry-level phone with a 50 megapixel camera, with a 5000 mAh battery, and with a rather solid CPU inside. Usually from MediaTek, but Qualcomm is already angry about being surpassed by MediaTek, so they're replying. Anyway, back to the phone. So as I said before, it has a plastic body with flat edges. It measures 8.1 millimeters in thickness, which is actually not that bad. And when it comes to the weight, we're dealing with a phone which weighs 179 grams, which in my book is quite decent. Aside from this hue we have here, which is supposed to be a dark gray with a slight bluish hue, there's also a white and a regular blue. It also has IP53 certification for both water protection and slightly dust protection. Courtesy of the fact that it has those flat edges, it's, I would say, quite comfy to hold in your hand and use with a single hand, but I think the diagonal also helps with that. I'm talking about an AMOLED panel here, 6.43 inches and a Full HD Plus resolution. It also has Gorilla Glass 3 protection and a 90 Hz refresh rate. A bit of a chin here at the bottom side, and the bezels are, I would say, reasonably thick. However, the punch hole for the selfie camera isn't that big. Now we have to go inside the device and talk about the CPU. I actually forgot to install this app, but this will be fixed quite fast. Okay, so the CPU we have here is a Qualcomm Snapdragon 684G, in spite of what it says here. It's actually a 6nm CPU, also seen recently on the Realme 9i. It's an octa-core chip, this one. It's accompanied by the Adreno 610 GPU, and we have here a version which proposes 4 gigs of RAM. There's also one with 6 gigs of RAM, and there's here, let's see, what I'm guessing it's 64 gigabytes of storage, and probably you should also get a 128 gigabyte storage version. This is UFS 2.2 in case you're wondering, and there's also a dedicated microSD card slot separate from the dual nano SIM card slots. Now we should also talk about the battery. One of the selling points for these Xiaomi Redmi phones. 5000 mAh is now the norm. It's typical. It should deliver quite a lot. I'm ready to offer you a spoiler. This is easily a phone that lasts 2 days with a charge, even for a power user, which is mighty impressive. And aside from that, once again, 33-watt charging. On paper, we're promised a full charge from 0 to 100% in just 60 minutes. Now, on the connectivity front, this handset provides you with Wi-Fi dual band, Bluetooth 5.0, GPS, GLONASS, and BDS for localizing, and also Galileo. I'm pretty curious about NFC. I'm going to have to go into the settings for that, and can't quite see it here. So cast, printing, portable hotspot, VPN, airplane mode, DNS, data usage, wireless display. Okay, no trace of it so far, but I will look into it more and maybe it's somewhere in there. Okay, so no NFC as far as I can see. We do have an audio jack at the top side, and aside from the audio jack here, you can see the infrared emitter used to control a TV set and more. And also extra holes, which means that aside from the bottom speaker, next to the USB-C port, you also have a top speaker, separate from the earpiece at the top side here. So the stereo experience is assured. For security, we have a side-placed fingerprint scanner in this flat power button. So if I use this finger, it doesn't unlock the phone, but if I use this one, it unlocks the phone in quite a snappy manner. Now, when it comes to the front camera, let me just apply a white background, or close to it, and this punch hole holds a 13 megapixel selfie shooter with Full HD video capture, while at the back side we have I would say pretty decently sized module, which doesn't protrude very much. The star of the show is obviously the 50 megapixel main camera with f1.8 aperture and face detection autofocus. There's also another 8 megapixel camera here with the ultra-wide lens, and there are two smaller sensors, each one 2 megapixel in size, one macro and one bokeh. You can see also the LED flash here and also the promise of AI camera features. Speaking of which, let's actually show you the camera user interface. Now, it's something which you saw over the past year on the Xiaomi phones. We got features like short videos, slow motion, 50 megapixel shots, documents, panorama, night, time-lapse and more. We got the portrait option, we got the photo option with AI here as well. We got options for movie frame, tilt shift and macro. This is the video section, and it's actually confirmed, yes, you can only shoot in full HD on this handset at 30 frames per second. And we have a pro mode for both photo with exposure, ISO, shutter, focus and white balance settings, also lens, plus a pro mode for video, which back in the day was a bit of a shocker to see on a budget handset. Now things get interesting software-wise. I already told you about the Premiere. This is MIUI 13, but it's applied on top of Android 11. So not Android 12, but rather Android 11, as you can see here. Now MIUI 13 brings a few extra features like a new generation of widgets, better RAM management, and a few more things. We also have a sidebar to activate, a brand new font called Mi Sans. You can now see the widgets here, and a more fluid user interface. So there's that. So this is how the multitasking is done with the recents. We also have floating windows, and look forward to seeing the sidebar in action. Now that's about it as far as the unboxing is concerned. This is the Redmi Note 11 4G, the international, better said global version with the Snapdragon 680 CPU. I would say that I'm pretty impressed by how grippy it is, how comfortable to use on account of the flat edges, and I have great expectations from its camera. So far, the battery is shockingly good. That much I can tell you. That's it from gsn.com. We'll be back very soon with a full review. Goodbye.